and there are not too many very good books in the market, in my opinion. One of the books, I had spoken about it earlier in one different interview, was The Principles of Tantra Shastra, Shakta and Shakti and etc., written by Arthur Avalon. Arthur Avalon was Sir John Woodruff. He was a judge in the Calcutta High Court, okay, during the British era, and he went on to become the Chief Justice of Calcutta. It's a very important position. Okay,
The white guy.
Britisher. Achha, the story goes, and it's very beautiful. It's an anecdotal story. It says that once there was some case and all going on, and he's sitting in his chamber, and if you have to get a basic understanding of Tantra, and there are not too many very good books in the market, in my opinion. One of the books, I had spoken about it earlier in one different interview, was The Principles of Tantra Shastra, Shakta and Shakti and etc., written by Arthur Avalon. Arthur Avalon was Sir John Woodruff. He was a judge in the Calcutta High Court, okay, during the British era, and he went on to become the Chief Justice of Calcutta. It's a very important position. Okay,
The white guy.
Britisher. Achha, the story goes, and it's very beautiful. It's an anecdotal story. It says that once there was some case and all going on, and he's sitting in his chamber and writing the judgment, and suddenly he feels that his mind is clouded. He can't think properly, and as if there's a pressure in the mind that to write a judgment in favor of one of the parties. And one of the so judges used to have assistants and all that. Even today, I think they have. So he asks him that, I don't know what is happening. Why is the pressure in the mind? And this guy says that, one of the parties has actually appointed a tantric yogi to sit in the court complex and chant certain mantras. He is influencing your mind. Okay. So he gets curious, and then he tells his other people, and they eventually go and remove that yogi from that tantric yogi from the courthouse complex. Okay. And the moment he has gone certain distance, he suddenly feels his head is very light. Okay, and he can think clearly, and that pressure in the mind is gone, and he is no more, as if there's no influence on his mind, etc. He does the judgment. But this gets him thinking, कि ये हो क्या रहा है? How is that even possible? Okay, and he takes a tremendous interest. He learns Sanskrit, becomes very good in Sanskrit. He learns the Upanishads, the Tantras, etc. He learns. He takes initiation in Tantra from one of the most profound acharyas of Tantra Sadhna at that time, who was supposed to be an expert in Tara Upasana. His wife also takes initiation, and he does it as Guru instructed him, which means that Guru told him that when you're doing this sadhana, you cannot sleep on the bed, you have to sleep on the floor, you have to wear a certain dress like an Indian dhoti, or those days whatever chappals, etc., whatever food you have to eat. To the dot, he followed everything. And he attained to Purnabhishek Diksha, which is a very high Diksha in Tantra. Okay, Purnabhishek Diksha. And then he collected many manuscripts of Tantra, books of Tantra from different places, translated them, and he wrote in English explaining the philosophy of Tantra and defending Tantra, because that was a time, British era. See, a lot of the negative perception of Tantra that we have started from the British era.
Wow, okay. Yeah. Even when I mention it to my friends that I've had a Tantra expert on the show, everyone pauses a little bit and stares at me. Goes on to 2023. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, because it started in a way, the sort of the demonization of Tantra started with the advent of Christian missionaries. So they used to look at Tantra and everything, and Hinduism in general, as something degraded and bad, and the aim is finally to convert you to Christianity. Okay, so they started criticizing many aspects of Hinduism, but more specifically on Tantra, because Tantra was, as I mentioned, that there are different paths. There is one path where you believe that there's a creator God upstairs and doing something. That's one way of looking at it. Oftentimes, believers of that philosophy cannot digest that there is a divine here also, fundamentally speaking. So anyway, they bracketed whole Tantra as some superstition. Okay, something barbaric, superstition, this, that. Unfortunately, many of the Hindu leaders of those times also started branding Tantra as superstition. This specifically happened because I believe there are a few factors. One is that, so you are anyway at a colonized time. Okay, so you don't know actually when the country will get freedom, if at all it will get freedom. We have been under foreign rule for a very long time. and now the Britishers have come. Who knows, they may live for another 1,000 years or something like that. So then the basic idea was that let's try and find some commonality with their religious culture, so that we can say that, see, we are not too different. So those aspects of Hinduism which you could project to the West, for example, Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, you say that there is a Brahman which is more powerful than deities. Okay, because the concept of deities don't exist in the other Western religions, the Abrahamic religions. Okay, so you tell them, no, we don't worship deities, we worship some Brahman and all that. Like this, certain ideas where I'm not saying it is anybody's fault, but it is perhaps the pressure of the times they lived in. So those were elevated more than others. And things like Tantra and all, it was impossible to explain to anybody, especially from the West. So they also started bracketing that this is all superstition and very bad and various other things, which I think is complete nonsense, to the extent that the Shankaracharyas of all people, the most learned of the Vedantins, Advaita Vedantins, they know Tantra very well. Okay, they are experts in Sri Vidya Tantra. Somebody of the caliber of Karpatri Maharaj, who was a great Vedantin in North India, most learned people and guru to two of the Shankaracharyas. He himself had written on Sri Vidya Tantra, which is one of the most profound schools of Tantra. Okay, so my point is that negative perception started from that time, and it kept getting repeated because the other thing is that a lot of the gurus, there has never been a mass guru who is a Tantra Upasak. Even if there are people though, and I know this for a fact, there are people officially who are perhaps of a different denomination or different, say whether they could be Vaishnava or something else. In their own practices, they do worship following the principles of Tantra. But when speaking in public, they don't mention it. So more or less what happened is that those who are not practitioners define this, that Tantra is like this, and naturally that happens. There is a कि ये बहुत खराब है, ये this is very bad, this, that, etc. ये जादू टोना type. So it was a complete mischaracterization of a terrific philosophical and actual path of sadhana, which has produced exceptional masters also in the past.